Excellent. Well, in Lakesh, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Deb Shakti, and I am the partner channel for the ET group entity who go by the term the Star Teachers, although they constantly tell me they don't use a label. That's for us because we begged for one. But when they tell me that there is a special window of opportunity to bring forth special energy or an important message, and they give me a date and a time, I try very hard to honor that because it's always perfect. They have a much wider scope of understanding than I do of the way energy works. So I apologize for the odd timing of this particular broadcast, but it is always perfect. I believe that because this time they said they were going to provide some light code activation in this transmission, that there is a special portal of energy that is going to be coming through at the moment when we start that portion of this part of the program. But I'll just, I'll forego welcoming people now as they start to come in. Just know that everyone is welcome, and we're so glad to have you here with us. Um, I have been I came in as a multidimensional experiencer. I'm a lifelong contact experiencer and initiator, and I have always channeled. I've always been able to work with energy and have all the side gifts. I came in pretty plugged in. But I didn't understand a lot of it until I got a little older. And I've also been a quantum hypnotherapist for many decades and very successfully have been able to help people with a lot of issues. But it seems like the biggest core of those issues in the last, 5 to 10 years have been around contact, paranormal experiencer stuff, what a lot of people might call abductions, alien abductions. And there is a film coming out. We premiere it in really, let's see, about a week and a half from now, called Alien Abduction Answers, that will be premiering at the Midwest Weird Fest Film Festival. That'll be its first showing to the public on March the 5th. And that film features some of this work. And it's a very uplifting film about the transformation that happens when people interact with beings such as the Star Teachers who you came here to hear speak. So I will forego talking about myself because the pressure is on. I always feel it. They want to get started. But that's kind of a little mini introduction to me for those of you who don't know very much about me. And if you want more, you can always go to my website, which is just debshakti.com, right there on your screen. So welcome to everyone. I do apologize. I have 3 screens going, and once I start the channeling, my body will do the automatic things it needs to run this program while it's channeling the messages from these beings. But I may not be able to keep up with chats and things like that. So my apologies there. I kind of go off on my own journey while we're doing this. So I will, without further ado, say welcome to all of you, and to all of you at any time and in any way who are perhaps interacting with us through the recording. Please know that this experience is timeless and spaceless. Nothing separates us really. So at any time when you experience this interaction with us, it will be just as potent and powerful as if you had attended it live, if you can't attend it live. So we're all here all at once, forever, visiting with each other. So thank you for joining us. So without further ado, I will let myself go into my vacation spot, and we will let the teachers take over. In Lakesh, and welcome to all of you. We are the Star Teachers. In Lakesh, meaning we are another you. And that is indeed the truth. For those who are uninitiated to our presence in your life at this moment, hello, We finally got through. And we just want you to know that we are another you. We literally are the human race, having evolved past the dualistic, third dimensional, rigid, kind of karmic patterning construct where your focus of attention is at this moment. We are now living on another layer. And in fact, we are you. If you wanted to look at it from a linear timeline, which doesn't really exist, but for want of a better explanation, we are you in the future. So we are just reaching down through the frequencies, through the layers of existence to remind you to be encouraged. Because what you do in this moment and in this particular life reality, this particular iteration of your being affects our existence. And in fact, it guarantees our existence. Because ultimately, if you want to have an exploded view of what to expect, if you continue the way that you continue with what you're doing now, the human race eventually finds a way to at least coalesce most of its participants into a cohesive, heart coherent group who then begin to co create in a much more positive, goodwill form. You get more into making your own planet a paradise, of course, for everyone who is participating on that planet. And you also start to explore the rest of your physical cosmos and then interdimensionally. So eventually, what you would call the human race on Earth, Earthlings, um, in our part of this timeline, don't really exist anymore. They are us who exist, all over your physical universe and far greater interdimensionally. We do have the ability to take on a physical form, and we do at times, especially when we interact with our partner and some of the people that she helps, or some of the other people who ask to interact with us who may need a physical form at first to have that sense of context. But for the most part, we have no need of a body because we've evolved past the ego labels of needing form, descriptions, and so forth. That doesn't mean that we're all just one big glob of consciousness, which, for want of a better explanation, that is what consciousness is. But we are the individual cells of that greater being, just as you are. So we do have our own unique personalities, signatures, and special gifts in which for us to be able to participate in the co-creation with each other and with you. And indeed, every one of you who is listening to this broadcast right now or participating in any way have always had some sort of interaction with us in this particular life reality. You may not have been conscious of it yet, but you and we have been working very, very closely together because, as we said at the beginning of the transmission, this is the pinnacle life reality where you actually do it. This is where you jump over the threshold. This is where human population, for the most part, reaches the escape velocity from this particular density and moves up in all ways to have a much more expansive, creative, enjoyable, and egalitarian existence, as most of the cosmos does, as most of creation does. So, if what we're saying sounds a little familiar, it's because we've been talking to you in your hearts and in your minds, in your heads, since you came in. And we are all family. We have been family for forever. But now we are coalescing to some really closely knit working groups. And we thank you for being here. And thank you for co-creating and allowing us to exist. So we are here today to give you a message. We know that there is a lot of consternation on your planet at this moment in your time. But there always has been. It is part of the dualistic nature of the construct from which you are perceiving your point of cosmic mind. That's really all you are, is just a point of perception of cosmic mind focused on one singular kind of evolving event, if you will. You also have access to the entire cosmic mind because that is who you are. However, in this focus, what you would call this lifetime, this life reality, it may feel to you like all hell is breaking loose. There are wars, there is plague, there are famines, there are natural and unnatural disasters happening, there is poverty, there is violence, and on and on and on. But we want to remind you that that has always been the contrast of this particular construct. It has always been this way. It doesn't mean that this is a terrible place, or as some humans call it, a prison planet. It's not. It's just a science laboratory that you built for yourselves to have some experiences, to learn, to explore, to co-create. And you've done that over and over and over again, as according to the karmic patterning nature of this construct. You learn some things, you leave your vehicle, or what we like to refer to your human beingness as a spacesuit. You're an explorer, this is your spacesuit. You leave that spacesuit, you go back, you report to headquarters, you get some information, you decide what to do next in your experimental science lab, then you come back and you try another form of experimentation. Or perhaps you become the experiment and someone else experiments with you. It's just a collective agreement, what you experience in this place, nothing more. However, to make it authentic, you put blinders on and you forget that that's what this is, and you think it is the reality. It is a piece of reality, but it is not the reality. It is merely an exercise in scientific exploration. And for want of a better explanation, you have really kind of played all that out. Most of you who are listening to this right now, you recognize you're kind of tired of all of it. You want something more. You want something better. You want to be able to create more freely without having all of this stickiness of this construct challenging you constantly and maybe causing obstacles to that which you would like to positively create. And so that's where we come in. We have been activated by our collective agreement together before you ever started on this journey that at a certain period of time we would start to come in and communicate more and more and more with you, to remind you, not to interfere, but to remind you and kind of nudge your memories, kind of open up your scope of vision from the blinders that you have on, that there is more, in fact, infinitely more to life than what you are experiencing, and that it is all you, and that you have unlimited capability and infinite choices to create whatever it is you want to do. And that you cannot ever make a mistake. Very important to understand that. So we hear some of your mind saying, but what about, the evil people in the world causing so much, pain and suffering? It's still part of the collective science experiment. Or for those of you who are more into theater, it's psychodrama, nothing more. They are parts that you all decided to play as you came in, and you still have free will, so you can explore, but there is a general thing that you came in to explore. And it's a collective agreement. Even the people who are suffering, so to speak, or maybe you are suffering, or maybe you feel that you are in a roadblock somewhere, or maybe you are rejoicing but feeling guilty because you have it all and your neighbor doesn't. It's all part of what you agreed on the overall theme of the play or the overall hypothesis of the experiment. That's all it is. So there's no reason to be upset. Now, because your human spacesuit feels, that's the main function of this place, the third dimensional Earth life incorporates many different feeling states, lots and lots of presets, if you will, in the spacesuit. Because you feel so deeply, it can become cumbersome to see all of the things that don't seem to coalesce with what we're talking about, the reality that is life, the goodness of life, the unlimited capability of the soul. And so often you will say, yes, but it's right here in my face. I can't get away from the suffering. I can't get away from the poverty. I can't get away from my challenges or my neighbor's challenges. How are we ever going to come together and make this work? Well, that's why we're here. Because we are ringing some little chimes in your being right now. What you might call light codes. They are specific little switches in your physical DNA and in your energy body. The layer of the energy body that is the electromagnetic field that holds as the template of that body. Just listening to these words, or even reading them, if you're reading us the closed caption, will start to activate those codes and turn on the switches, if you will, of reminder of who and what you are. And you will start to feel energy. You will start to feel different states of being. They may not be colossal at this moment. They're very subtle at first because the spacesuit is very sensitive. And so you start to do almost a drip function of this information into your systems once they are activated. Now we'll go through a little bit of a formal process to help you experience it more before this broadcast is over. But we want to tell you that is what we are here for today, to remind you that you agreed to this, that you conceptualized it, that you actually initiated it. And we love you so much because you are brilliant. If you hadn't, if we hadn't, we'd just be the singularity, floating there in space, flatlined, in peace, which is great for about 30 seconds, and then we get bored. So this is how we become more and more engaged in the ever-evolving non-structure of life. And we are limitless. So how did we, as you, jump over that threshold? Because right now, when our partner is working with her clients and students, it's an everyday conversation, even in her family. How do you ever get past what seems to be a worsening dis-ease of mind and soul in this place? And we tell you, there is a threefold path. We spoke a little bit about this in another transmission a few weeks ago in an ET Let's Talk webinar. If you did not hear that, have no worries. We will go over it again here today. But the threefold path of moving past the heaviness and the challenges that you are engaged in now, in this reality, is very simple in its concept, but it takes discipline and inner promise to yourself to bring it all about. It only takes a few seconds a day until you get used to it and you start to feel the juice of it coming in, and it becomes sort of an elixir, a medicine for you. And so you'll start to become more and more consciously aware of your interaction with this threefold path as you start to use it day to day. So, what is it? The threefold path, or as some like to put it, the three-strand cord. Very strong. The threefold path is this. Number one, everything that you are perceiving in the world, in the physical realm of what you call the universe, is a macrocosm reflection of something within yourself. There is nothing really other than you. All the other people that you're seeing on these screens, all the people that you see in your everyday life, on the news, all the animals, the plants, the rocks, the stars, all of it is you. Just different facets of a holographic jewel that is the one, which is you. That's why we call it the universe, Y-O universe. Now, when you're looking at all that, you might say, but I am not that. I have done my spiritual practice. I try to live as a sacred being. I try to live as someone who is constantly putting positive energy into the world. And we say, yes, but there are many layers to your being that you are maybe not conscious of yet. And these outward reflections are starting to remind you of, symbolically, of what needs to be taken care of before you can bring everything into conscious coherence. And that's where all the magic really lies. So the first step is, in realizing this, is to take the best care of yourself that you possibly can. That sounds selfish, but it is not. Remember, everything stems from you. So you must make this vessel, this spacesuit, but this soul more brilliant, more positive, more a reflection of what it is you really want to create. And you can only do that if you refine the material that makes it up, i.e., simple things. Maybe start with just one a day. Maybe start to breathe more deeply, consciously, for at least a minute to 3 minutes a day. Perhaps then you start adding in getting some fresh air, being out in nature, taking a walk, or doing some yoga or Tai Chi or gardening. In whatever weather it is, as long as it's not too dangerous for you, to get fresh air and to get rays from your central star there that also feed and help to enhance the functioning of that spacesuit. It is solar powered, by the way. Feeding it and its cells, which are tiny little batteries, the correct nourishment, i.e., the most live food you can feed it and the most pure. But don't get obsessive. Just do it with intention and gratitude. And whatever other practices that you know of or that you can find in your research that will enhance the ability of this fantastic invention will be the first step. Remember, you don't put crude oil into a Lamborghini and expect it to function properly. You don't leave it out in all the weather and expect it to stay beautiful and in top condition when it needs to work. And so we say self-care first, and that also entails doing some form of internal spiritual development. Meditation, however you define that. Being quiet, going within, and allowing yourself to sit in the stillness without interruption for at least an entire minute a day. And if you're really, really gung-ho, a minute in the morning and a minute at night before you go to bed. And if you're really a practiced person, someone who is already into some form of meditation, whatever that is for you, and that could be drumming, it could be dance, it could be painting, whatever gets you into a flow state, the theta brainwave state, you might start to increase that or become even more conscious of how things are going on in there. And if you don't have a clue as to how to do that, just stay on this website, whatever you're looking at, and look at the past videos that our partners put up. There are lots of good things there to help guide you. You'll know when you see yours. But care of the self, first and foremost, with lots of gratitude for who you are in this moment and every moment, and no judgment of the self. Number one, that's part of the threefold path. The second is to now take that concept and bring it into your immediate environment with the other beings that are inhabiting that environment. That might mean your immediate family. That might mean the cat that you live with. That might mean your disabled neighbor next door who really is kind of closed off from people. That might mean maybe starting to volunteer for an hour a week somewhere, or complimenting a cashier who's having a bad day at the store. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It's just expanding the energy of the spacesuit past yourself. Because remember, they're all part of you too. So if you can imagine the self-care that we just talked about as becoming more aligning with the preferred creation that you would like to embark upon, now you're going to expand that self-care to the other parts of yourself, which are the people around you. Start small, start close, and work your way out. However you can do that. And then the third part of the threefold path, and this is the most delightful, and some of you it will be the toughest, is to remember that the divine spark is within each part of the whole body. And what we mean by the whole body, we mean the all one. You have a divine spark. Your neighbor here on the screen has a divine spark. That politician that really pisses you off has that divine spark. That dictator who annihilated millions of people less than 100 years ago has the divine spark. It is now your calling, if you choose to take up this call, to recognize it and to perhaps remind the other facets of yourself that they contain it. And again, it could be as simple as saying, "Your smile is so beautiful today. Thank you for sharing that." Or comforting someone who is in pain, who can't see past the darkness. But for the most part, we really want to say, to remind yourself every day that there is no us versus them. There isn't. There is only you and all of the facets of you, which are all beautiful points of perspective from the same jewel. So, to bring that part of that into a greater context where you can actually use it and start to mold it into something that is much more pleasurable than a broken piece of pottery, what we'd like to say is that gratitude is key, as is forgiveness, as is non-judgment, as is unconditional love. If you would like a short process, what we can tell you is, upon awakening each day, before you open your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths in and express gratitude for the amazing being that you are, and feel the divine spark there in your heart. Feel it. Express gratitude for everything that you have experienced, that you are experiencing, and that you will experience. Why? Because it's all part of your creation. It's all part of what you wanted to learn. It's all part of what you wanted to explore. Remember, you came here in this particular iteration to feel things. And you didn't just say to feel the happy things. Remember, everything that you experience is your teacher. You came here to learn. So express gratitude to everyone and everything for being your perfect and divine teacher, including yourself. Then allow yourself to express forgiveness, unconditional love and forgiveness to all who may have hurt or harmed you or anyone or anything at any time and in any way, including and especially yourself. Very important. Very important. Release them, i.e., release yourself, from the prison of past actions that may have caused pain or suffering. Remember, the past only exists if you keep focusing on it. And if you focus on the past enough, it becomes your present and it creates your future with the same construct. So, forgiveness is simply snipping the cords and saying, I accept you as a completely new and improved being, part of myself in this moment. Thank you. I forgive the past and unconditionally love you for what we are co-creating now. And send that energy out to that person or that entity or that construct or that organization and visualize them as being better than they were, but including and especially yourself, and bless them. Just be grateful, bless everything, and then tell yourself what it is you want to create in that day, in that moment, and then get up out of your bed and live your life knowing that you created it already and you already have it, even if you don't see the crystallization of it manifested in your life quite yet. Remember, things move slowly on this level. You create from the feeling state, from the energetic state, and then it crystallizes, it filters down like sediment in a glass of water. Might take a little while. Don't be impatient. Keep creating ahead of the manifestation and be grateful for it ahead of the manifestation. And this is how you do it. This is why we exist, because you finally got this concept and you started practicing it. It's a threefold path, simple in its construct, takes some discipline and a little bit of practice, but soon what you'll find is you're becoming more and more conscious of everything, of how you are feeling and reacting, or maybe as you start to become more accomplished at this, responding to, not reacting to what's happening around you, which is just a reflection of what's happening inside you. For instance, many of you are upset today because one nation has gone to war and is attacking another nation. And it seems unfair. It seems horrendous. But don't you do that to yourself every single day in some way? Don't you attack a certain part of yourself with negative thought loops about who and what you are or have been? Or maybe you're concerned that the planet is so polluted that it is dying. It's suffocating, it's starving, it's becoming poisoned. How can you put that in the context of who you are? Are you taking care of yourself as if you were the planet? Or are you maybe poisoning yourself a little bit here and there? Not cleaning yourself up in your thoughts or in your words or in your deeds. Perhaps you're not cultivating the growth of your inner planet. And when you don't, that's what you see in your outer world. Are we communicating? Mm-hmm. So that's why we put number one being take care of the self, because when you do that, your vibration starts to raise and raise and raise. And as it raises, it begins to transmit out and affect the other part of the creation that is you. And it starts to reflect back in a different way, more in coherence with what you have become. This is why so many of you love doing contact practices or spiritual practices like yoga or uh, ritual practices. They raise the vibration. When you raise the vibration within yourself or with a group, which amplifies things and gets that generator going even faster and stronger, you start to feel better about your outer world. And remember, it moves more slowly in the physical realm, so you may not quite see countries shaking hands the next day after you start doing this for yourself, but you will start to see changes. Also know that part of this construct has been developed, especially in the last century or so, to feed you negative reflections constantly because it's easier to control you. Some of the parts of you want to have more control, i.e., governments, organizations, people. So you're constantly being bombarded by all of this negative narrative about what is happening out here. You rarely get to see the good stuff. But there are places you can go to look up the good stuff if you can't quite see them in your immediate neighborhood. There are good news websites. There are community organizations that perpetuate good acts that you can volunteer for that will help you see how many good people are on this planet. And the more you start to interact with these, the less that other stuff becomes part of your narrative. Is it still going on? Yes, but it's one of infinite timelines that you need not participate in unless you choose to. Remember, you're not only inhabiting that spacesuit, but you are all of creation, and you are visiting different layers of your being, frequencies or dimensions, however you want to phase that, trillions of times per second if you want to use time. You tend to be gravitating yourself to some that are fairly similar, and so that looks like your reality. And you don't notice that you are moving through these timelines that fast and looking at the other versions of yourself, but you do. Somewhere out there, there is a version of you in a utopia. If you want to live in a utopia, start to allow yourself to experience that in your meditation and in your daydreaming. And when you come up off of your cushion or your chair, go out into your world and start to live as if you are still there with gratitude and see the world in a different way. And it will start to change, but it's not changing so much as you're changing your focus to one that you like better. And that's our job today, is to help you focus on what it is you want and to finally let go of the addiction to that which you don't. Good people often come to us and say, this all sounds wonderful. You know, we're all going to live in a Shangri-La kind of cosmic community and leave this one behind. But there are still people in this one that are not doing that. And some of them are my loved ones, or some of them are strangers, but I don't feel comfortable leaving them behind. That doesn't feel sacred, holy. And we are here to tell you that you have infinite versions of yourselves doing everything you can imagine and more in all these timelines. And they are doing exactly what they want to do in each and every moment. So, point of perspective that is you listening to this transmission, you can make that choice right now to start exploring how it would feel to walk around in a world where there was no war, where there is no poverty, where there is no violence. And it's a discipline to walk past and not get focused upon or how shall we put it, galvanized by the reflection that you're seeing in some of these people or some of these situations. We're not saying hide your head in the sand. We're saying make more conscious choices about what you want to experience, and you will. And you don't have to buy into what we're saying, but it might be a great experiment for your science lab. Having said that, we'd like to take a few moments to take you through the process where you can experience the light code activation within your own being. And then we'll open up the floor for any questions. Again, our partner wishes to say to those who are on the other live feeds, as she is channeling and speaking for us, she's not able to read the chats or the questions yet. Please be patient, and we'll get to that soon. So for now, if you will, simply get comfortable and close your eyes. Take just a few moments. We'll have some music playing that will help you get there and enjoy the experience just a little bit more. Remember, sound is a very important tool when it comes to changing your vibration, because sound is vibration. The entire whole of creation is nothing more than light, energy, and vibration. So music plays a big part. So get comfortable, and if you like, close your eyes. Allow your human vessel to take a breath or two and notice how it feels to just let go of the day, let go of the outside world for a moment or two. Relax. Take another deep breath in and fill yourself up as if you were breathing in light, and then hold the breath in. Feel it expand and warm and tickle and tingle. And then open your mouth and just let it escape easily, and send that vibration out to the rest of this part of your creation. Share that peace. And if you so choose, with your closed eyes, look up at that place on your spacesuit right there above your nose between your eyebrows. Just for a few moments, let your physical eyes look up behind closed eyelids, and take another deep breath in. And let that be a sort of big theater screen where you'll visualize what we are getting ready to say. And you can open your mouth and let all of that breath out. Relax more deeply. And then we'd like to describe to you an environment. We're taking you there with our voice. What some of you might call a craft. But it's really a part of you, part of us. It's conscious. But see yourself now on this craft. It's transparent, iridescent. There are no rough edges. It's filled with light. And it's soft, pliable. As you rest on the spot that you're resting on, you feel comforted and held, as if a conscious being is holding you next to their heart. And then to that mind screen that we were talking about, you can look out at this environment and you start to see a physical formation of what we might look like to you. Fairly tall, fairly thin, nearly transparent, semi-humanoid forms. Featureless, almost as if the iridescence of our form doesn't let you see all the way through us, and yet you see streams of brightly colored light flowing around within us. And every so often you see some of that light, one of the colors, intensify in a little burst, like a nebula being born. That's a light code. That's a particular concentration of the energetic data that is now coming online, not just in our iteration, but in yours. Because you may think you're looking at us, but in this environment, this spaceship, you're able to see yourself as us. See us as one, gentle, loving, all-wise, curious, joyful. Every so often, as you're watching the streams of light within our forms, you see that burst, and you feel it in your own vessel, your own spacesuit, your own body. Turn your sight backwards to look at yourself from the outside. See yourself as you see us. How beautiful. How perfect. And every so often, you see a burst of light. First a green one, then a yellow, then one that is indescribable, but beautiful. Feel these in your own body. New abilities, or shall we say, reignited abilities, are starting to come online within you. And they will help you move through this next module of the awakening of the human race, of the planet Gaia, ascending to this higher frequency where you no longer are held down by the rigidity, the negativity, the duality. Now we want to remind you, as you're marveling, perhaps looking at your hands, your fingers, your legs, or the others around you who are reflections of you, we want to remind you that when you came into this particular life reality, the human vessel that you inhabit right now on planet Earth, we were there. And one of us placed an infinitely faceted jewel right there in the center of your heart. This super luminal crystal is within you and has been switching on things and supporting you throughout this existence. And now, in this environment, with us helping, its programming becomes expanded, and you see streams of bright colored light emanating from it and moving throughout your being, switching on and enhancing your gifts, your abilities, your specialness, giving you new inspiration, energy like you never felt before to be able to accomplish what it is you came here to accomplish. And more than anything, the ability to let go of the us versus them construct. It's an illusion. Feel the pulsing. And know that on the carrier wave of the words and the music that have been coming into your conscious awareness, these light codes have been activated at your request, mind you. You asked for this. Your world will never be the same, for you are now equipped with highly advanced superpowers on levels you never imagined as your human being, to finish out this particular life reality and create for yourself and the rest of your co-creators a new reality. And you will consciously stay focused on it very soon and no longer be participating, unless you choose to, in the negativity, the pain, the suffering, the confusion, the violence, and the sorrow. Please know, as these light codes are activating right now, you may feel a little bit of tingling or a little bit of shots of energy. You may see sparks of light behind your eyelids. We want to remind some of you who do contact work or who go stargazing that when you at times look up into your night sky and you see a burst of light and then it's gone and it feels exciting to you, like a communication, it's a reflection of you having a light code activate both out there and in here. And so we want you to be conscious of this. See, notice, be grateful for, and wisely utilize and generously share all of these gifts that have come online for you today. Taking one more moment to just look around at this beautiful environment that is yours. It's part of you. You've always come here. Give thanks for that and know that you can visit this anytime and visit us anytime by just placing your hand on your heart and remembering that jewel, that crystal that's in there. And allow yourself to be. And then we'll let all of that start to filter away from your conscious awareness. You come back to the reality that we came from, now completely enhanced, rejuvenated, Maybe some healing has happened. Certainly some upgrades have happened. And now, once you're back, your eyes can open. You can stretch, yawn, take a sip of liquid. Open your eyes, and we will open to questions. And so thanks to all of you. We are very happy to answer questions. We thought we would start, though we did receive a written question. And after our partner reads the written question and we give the answer, then for those of you on the Zoom, if you will use the raised hands function to ask your question, and we'll go back and forth from the other lives as well, trying to answer questions in the chats. So Amanda from New Zealand wrote a very long letter to us. And so we're going to condense down what we think her main question is. And she said that she had undergone her work for the day. She does very deep healing work. And she went to cleanse and to kind of ground out by the ocean. And it was treacherous weather. And yet she went into the ocean and felt all of the tensions flow away, and she came out and lay down beneath the wind and the rain and the thunder, and she felt that there was a huge craft above her beckoning for her to come and to travel. And she realized that it was there, and there was another one that she could almost perceive, but she couldn't quite perceive. They were kind of cloaked by the clouds. And her first question was, why couldn't she perceive it more clearly? Because she felt like the larger one was a part of her, but she wasn't on the craft. And was that why she couldn't quite perceive it well? And then the second part of the question was, she felt the invitation and the pull to go. And she really wanted to go. It felt so right. And then her tiny son called to her, her human son. And she realized that she didn't feel right leaving him behind. She wanted to just essentially know if that was real or if it was just part of her imagination after having a very intense session. Well, we want to say kia ora to our sister Amanda in New Zealand. And we thank you for the questions. And what we will say is, number one, first of all, we are so grateful for your incarnation here as a healer, as a proactive human trying to enhance the earth where she resides, and as a mother. And yes, you're correct that there were two craft. One is yours, one is some of your close family. And you're correct that you couldn't quite perceive them because you weren't that connected to them, i.e., in your brain you said, because I wasn't on that craft, I could not perceive it. Sort of the way it is, but it's sort of like something is so much a part of you that you no longer notice it's there. Kind of like your spouse. There are days when you're in the same house with your partner and you might go the whole day without acknowledging them. They're there, but you're just not that connected. That's sort of what it's like. You can always perceive if you just send your heart energy to it, and you'll be able to see it or perceive it in a much more solid way. The second part is, did you actually receive an invitation, or was that part of your imagination? And we want to say yes to both parts of the question, because the invitation comes from yourself, and yourself is your imagination. The images that you create in your consciousness are magic. They are the creative process. So Everything is real. And what manifests in your physical reality is what you focus on more closely. Okay? So, everything that you've ever imagined, read about, talked about, listened to, experienced, they're all real. But you don't have to have some of those things in your reality if you don't want them, i.e., monsters. You know, just don't focus on them. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the program about what you're focusing on and what you manifest. So we want to congratulate you for recognizing your craft, for recognizing your duty as a mother. We also want to tell you, if you had said yes to going in the craft, your child probably would have gone with you and been just as delighted as you. So if it's your highest excitement to go next time you get the invitation, please go right ahead. You can't make a mistake. Everything you do is on purpose with your soul. We thank you so much. And Mari ora, sister. So, questions from anyone else? Someone on TikTok says that they have pain in their right ear. In their right ear, is it serious? Pain is always a signal that something is sort of out of balance in the physical body, in the spacesuit that you're inhabiting. But it's up to you to discern whether that pain is physical or if it's a signal to you to pay attention to what that body part symbolizes. The right side of the body symbolizes more the male aspect of your energy body. The more assertive, aggressive, organized, maybe even linear, powerful initiator part. The left side of the body signifies the more creative, right brain, nurturing, feminine aspects. So we would say if you're having pain or some sort of thing going on in your right ear, it might just be a symbol to your conscious awareness. We like to say it's a love letter from your soul to your conscious awareness, your physical brain, that there's some imbalance in your life. Perhaps you haven't been listening well enough to the part of your psyche that is more attuned to the masculine energy. Maybe you're more in the feminine arena right now. Maybe you've been really focused on creating and nurturing and so forth, and you're maybe not paying attention to, for instance, balancing your checkbook or listening to good advice. Think about what the ear does. It listens, it hears, right? So that's the esoteric meaning of that, and that is kind of the message that we feel is coming through for you. But if pain is severe and it persists, we say bring one of your healers in and have them check it out, because there may be other things going on too. The human spacesuit is a very complex organism, and we want you to be comprehensive in your working with it. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Ah, Jenny says, what does the cosmos say about destiny right now? Well, destiny is nothing more than a construct of really this particular third dimensional earth life. Destiny it's not really relevant as far as the all-encompassing nature of your soul, of your consciousness. Now, as we said before, you come into different focuses of life realities with a theme in mind, but you have free will, and you can play out how you explore that theme any way you choose. It's like having a map and seeing there are 5 pathways to get to the same ice cream stand, and your goal is to get to the ice cream stand, but it's up to you to decide which pathway you want to go, how fast you go, what side tracks you take, and so forth. Destiny often gets confused with another word that it gets bandied about in the human um, concept, and that's dharma, life purpose. Everybody has kind of a personality signature. Each one of you is a cell, if you will, of the all that is body. And each cell has a kind of a personality signature, a signifying purpose, if you will. But there's a lot of overlap there between cells. So you get to pick and choose what it is you want to do. You know, when you were a child, you might have wanted to be a veterinarian, and then when you were a teenager, you might have wanted to be a world explorer, and then when you turned 30, you might wanted to be a healer. Um, and so it's just where your attention is focused as what you might call is your destiny. If it resonates in your heart, if you feel the gong, if you feel the chime going off in your heart about what it is you're thinking about doing or you are engaged upon, i.e., your excitement, your flow, if you're in a flow state and you feel joy and you foster and create joy with what you're doing, that's a clue that is, you know, that you're living on purpose in an aligned way with your soul. But there is really no destiny. It's an open ended adventure. We hope that helps. Anyone else? Mickey? Mikey? Michelle? Hi. Oh, you have to unmute.
Oh, there we go. So
Yes.
I was just curious, like if you see, is it possible to get upgrades or information or that type of thing, such as kind of like similar to what we're doing here? Um, if you see a craft, if you see lights in the sky or that type of thing?
Yes, often that is why you see the physical manifestation of such things. Because remember, in that spacesuit that you inhabit right now, it is more prone to believe in something that is kind of a physical manifestation, especially if it's somewhat shocking or exciting or odd, stands out from the rest of the environment.
Mhm.
We know that you have experienced seeing a craft, for instance, or something, you know, shocking, and you feel a surge go through your body. Isn't that correct?
Mhm,
You
mhm.
felt something physical,
Sure.
and that's what happens. Hmm, it's like a programming tool. Okay, it's like a light switch. You know, you can stand there all day in your dark room and repeat the mantra, come on, light, turn on light, turn on light, turn on light. Well, if you do that for several hundred years, you might get enough momentum in your vibratory system to shoot some electricity into that light and it'll come on. Or you can reach over, turn the light switch on, and the light comes on. So when you see a craft like that and you feel that feeling, yes, no, something more has happened than just someone saying hi.
Okay.
There's always a purpose.
That's what I thought.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Trees 2020 says, oh, interesting. I saw beautiful light codes on a riverbank no one else saw, and I was mesmerized. Well, thank you for bringing that up because to go along with what uh, Mikey was saying about seeing something, you know, different and feeling something, you only perceive what is resonant with the feeling state, i.e., the frequency and vibration that you are inhabiting and focused on in that moment. Does that make sense? So, for instance, those of you who go out and do contact work, you might be in a circle with a lot of people and you're all intending that you're going to see a light craft or a light ship or something. And you might be there for 2 hours and it's beautiful, but nothing's happening. And suddenly, three people at the same time point up in a certain direction and say, there it is. And if the person standing next to the person who is saying that, they're looking in the same place and they don't perceive it. Why is that? Because their energy, their frequency is just a little bit different, and so it's not a match. It doesn't mean that they're any less than or more than the person who saw the craft. It just means that they are resonant with what they're perceiving. And so this person who saw and experienced those beautiful light codes on the riverbank and no one else saw them, it just means that you were in the right frequency to have that experience. And maybe, just maybe, it was only for you. Sometimes it's a personal message. So keep that in mind too. And don't feel badly if a group of people sees a giant light ship go by and you don't see it, because there are always communications coming to everyone in different ways all the time. Yours just might not have been the same as theirs. Make sense? Anyone else? We're just getting a lot of love from all the TikTok people, and we thank you. So nice. Thanks to everyone for being here. All right. Does anyone have any questions about anything at all, especially the process that we talked about, the threefold path or the three-strand cord? There's an old spiritual saying that a cord made of 3 strands is almost unbreakable. And we like to think of this path or this application that we gave you today as that strong cord between this you and the infinite you. Nothing separates you, ever. You're always connected to whatever it is you like to label it, because humans like to label it cosmic mind, God, the divine source, whatever it is, the great jewel. You're never, ever separate, because you are that. The yogis have a mantra, tat tvam asi. It means thou art that, with the capital T-H-A-T. Tat tvam asi. Thou art that. And so we want to remind you that when you interact with star beings or interdimensional beings or angels or fairies or your ancestors, they are not deities. They are equal, because they are you coming at you from a different part of the faceted jewel, so that you get another perspective. That's all it is. And so we say, don't pray, as you were taught when you were little, asking for things. Be in gratitude for already having them, and then focus on drawing yourself to that reality. Trees 2020 says, the threefold path is pulling me into alignment, deeply grateful, as we are grateful to all of you. And we sense that everyone is complete for now. We will leave you with the ending blessing that we always give in these transmissions. We'll return you to our partner for a moment, and then to your lives, to go out and start activating others, because what you experience today, you can do with everyone in your reality. Just set your heart to it and do it, because without you, we won't exist. We thank you in advance. We love you so much. En Lakash, we are another you. Okay, friends. Well, everybody okay? Did you have a good ride? Yeah. Those of you on the Zoom, if you want to say something, you can open your mics. You don't have to raise hands. We have a couple more minutes. I'm fine. I just don't want to keep everybody too long. But did everyone have at least gain some benefit or insight today? No, getting lots of hearts on the TikTok feed. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. All right, so what we will do is I believe since we did a Facebook Live, that'll be posted to either my Deborah Buller or Deb Shakti page immediately after this. You can always retrieve it there. I'm going to convert the Zoom one to my YouTube channel, and it'll be there too. And I'll send out a little announcement to everybody in case you want to go back and revisit something or share. Remember, this was um, a pay as you can or donation love offering, and there were no strings attached. If you don't want to donate anything, you don't have to, because your energy was your donation for me. I appreciate you all taking so much time out of your afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are in the world. And for those of you listening in the future, please feel free to share this recording with anyone you think might need it. And come back the next time and we'll have some more fun together. Thanks so much. I love you all.
Deb's,
Yes.
quick question. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So you just brought it up, and I was going to ask the question about where to donate. Is that on your page or?
Yeah, I think it's in the event itself. If you go to my
Okay.
page and you'll see that event, it's in the description. It's real
Okay.
easy. It's not where you would usually set up a thing on my scheduler. It's just like my PayPal or Venmo if you want to. No obligation, no run. Thank you so much. And then I'll put that at the bottom of the YouTube one too for people in case they want to give. It just helps pay for the equipment and the internet service and everything. But we're good. I'm always supported. So, all
Okay.
right, everybody. Thank you so much. I love you all and hope to see you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Deb.
All right.
Appreciate
Oh, one more thing. Our movie premieres March 5th. Alien Abduction Answers. So be looking for some posts about that. And then after that, there'll be lots of announcements about where you can see it yourself if you can't make it up to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So thanks, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening, morning, or day. Thank you. Bye.
it. Okay. Bye bye.
Love you. Bye.